Okay, we'll call this agenda and priorities meeting to order. It's 3 p.m. December the 18th, and I'll ask Councillor Heistad to please read the land acknowledgement.
Thanks, Your Worship. Town of Innisfil acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll move into 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Councillor Heistad?
Yeah. I was going to put a couple on, and it may be more under CEOs. Maybe I was going to actually have the one title would be Recreation and Pool Tours. And the second one would be budget overview and goal presentation for following the 2024 budget. Those would be the two items. So I don't know where those would land.
Your Worship, Councillor Heistad's request either roundtable or we could add them under administration, I suppose. So there's no section. So just 3.3 and 3.4 tag with Councillor Heistad.
Okay. Can I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Wing?
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Okay, thanks. All in favor? Okay, and we'll move into 3.1 with CEO Becker.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So if Council doesn't mind, we'll just kind of walk through the report and into the attached documents and to see how you wish to proceed. Just looking to review the updated strat priorities and seek any council feedback, questions on the proposed strat priorities. So the strat priorities as they're presented are those of council, your top three ultimately, which do blend into the administrative priorities. So you see kind of a blend of both council priority and administration. Currently, council's immediate priorities include the Varma Waste Energy Project, which we'll look in more detail shortly, government relations strategy, tax policy review. As the report indicates, there's a few items highlighted in red that we either researched or completed. As you can see, the 2022 year-end report will then automatically go into the 2023 year-end report. You don't need to tag that as a priority, only that council wishes to have a year-end report at the conclusion of 2023. So based on council's priorities, the Varma Waste Energy Project. So basically, it's from my perspective, administration's perspective, this priority is within the hands of Varma. We offered assistance with continual communication with Varma. Right now, it's with them to ask any of us, anything of the town, on wishing to proceed on any actions that they desire. It's really theirs to, in communication and seeking contracts for waste is where they're at. They're also focused on other areas of Alberta with other projects. The government relations strategy, so right now up to this point, it's been kind of sitting there as a priority, but administration has not advanced that priority until now, and we're looking for a little bit more detail from council on how you wish to proceed. So as the report states, this priority is consideration of government relations, but government relations I would consider more applicable to any engagement you wish to have a conversation with or collaboration with, whether it's a government intermunicipal, interagency, etc. What is attached to this report is the Duke County's advocacy plan, which felt was a good document for a visual, as well as the City of Lethbridge advocacy framework. And we'll go down to that as we advance. But two, I believe, applicable documents to help create a vision of how council wish or may want to proceed in developing an advocacy strategy with some terminology on what does council believe is a definition of advocacy. As the next steps read, what I would like to propose is to have an inter-administrative team discussion regarding advocacy items that council can consider from an operational side. You council would have your own indication of where you wish to advocate for. But there are a few items I believe administratively could help you identify a few points that you may want to consider further advocacy on to government and other agencies. For example, in 2 years, the intermunicipal collaboration framework is due with Red Deer County, which is really a service and funding related type of a framework. But there's a few things I like to flesh out administratively to help generate a conversation with you that how we wish to engage with Red Deer County. That's one example. There's a few other examples, whether it's fire departments, and just a few other items that I'd like to maybe pose more in camera due to the sensitivities. But put it back to administration to meet in early February, come back to you in mid-February with a list of recommended items that administration feels for you to consider building out an advocacy strategy for. Of course, what I think you feel we wish to advocate further detail too. So just going down in more detail, the first document is the September 18th strategic priorities. I'll just comb through quickly, not to go specifically unless you have any questions. As of September 18th, council's priorities remained at environment, waste, energy, government relations strategy, and the tax policy review, that is tasked over to the Director of Corporate Services. Through the CAO office was the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. We expect to see more definite information from BASA, the consultants, towards the end of March. BASA did report to the policing committee last week with an update. Council members may want to report on that information, but this one would remain as a priority until that first phase is complete, until you're comfortable with that report. So what BASA is stating is that they like to come back to the committee, onto council towards the end of the first quarter, and we'll see what that information and details. Environment, waste, energy, talked about government relations strategy. Again, I'd like to comb through those documents in a little bit more detail with you shortly. The Municipal Energy Hub conversations, administration will be talking early 2024 with some plans and moving forward with more community conversations. One is being planned for likely mid-February. A little bit more detail to come out at the first part of January. Just putting it over to the Director of Corporate Services. Just speak briefly, Director, on your priority areas. Oh, sorry, I guess this is September, just kind of, actually I'll jumping around a bit. I'll just kind of go through this document. I'll put you through to the new clean document. So September still is tax policy review, the Clean Energy Improvement Program, with policy bylaw updates, which you have witnessed quite a few updates recently. Down to operational services, aquatic center projects, with, moving into the capital projects, inclusive of the Southwest Industrial Park developments and solar farm projects, and of course asset management, which led into your budget process. To community services, the housing priority, which is ongoing, with more detailed public document coming out early in the new year. Southwest industrial land sales, climate sustainability, and fostering a healthy economic development ecosystem. I'll just stop there before I go into the December 18th proposed priorities. Is there any questions on the previous document? If not, I'll just kind of keep going through. So this is what administration is proposing to you, and please, any questions or any direction or anything else that we're missing, please communicate that out.
I do.
So again,
I do have one
okay,
question.
sure.
And it's not exactly related to the text as it's shown with the clean energy. I would like to see us along about June of next year report on the improvements that we think we've made with the major expenditure that we made relative to various heating and the solars on the roofs. And would that be a reasonable request? Because that should encompass some of the poor months of the year and should catch about 3 of the best months of the year with solar.
Perfect, yeah. That's-
So I don't know how to capture that, but I'd like to see that. Just
We'll capture that, Councillor, likely would be underneath the Director of Community Services, and we can put a line within that priority area.
okay. Thank you.
Again, just so council's aware, just to reiterate, Varma Waste Energy, there's not a lot of action, just touch base with Varma. We're waiting for their directives or requests for support. Right now, we're, again, communication, but we have not advanced any further dialogue. They're not asking us to help them with stakeholder engagements at this given time. So just that you know, not a lot of time is being dedicated towards this priority at this given time. As the report stated, there's time to allocate to the government relations strategy if this remains your priority. The supporting documents, and again, look for your feedback as we get there, is something I'd like to propose to you, Council, is to provide communication back about apply these types of documents and frame it up into something similar for your consideration as a government relations strategy and a framework. Tax policy review, we'll talk about that in a second through the director. Again, did mention the community safety and well-being plan. It's coming to the last part of phase number 1. We're expecting a lot of data. There's been some engagement with the community. Again, data there to help the committee and onto council to develop strategy moving forward. Yeah, so the rest are there for your consideration. So moving down into corporate services, Director, would you like to comment?
Absolutely. So the first one is tax policy review. So early in January will become the priority that we will develop the tax policy review for council's consideration. And the scope will include an outline of the Municipal Government Act and the legislative requirements and opportunities that council could apply to the town of Innisfail tax policy framework. So that will come before council by the end of Q2 in 24. So the next one is 2023 year end. Now that the budget is completed and passed, that comes off the priority list, and now the new year end comes on. So we are required to do a year end and prepare annual audited financial statements as well as a financial information return. And both of those reports are supposed to be returned to Municipal Affairs by May 1st of each year. Our financial statements do provide a snapshot of the town's financial health, and the town must prepare annual financial statements and have them audited by that independent professional auditor. We do have some pretty specific dates for this. So I myself will be done and wrapped up all of our year-end work by March 7th. The final testing on site with our auditors will happen the week of March 19th. April 17th is when I'll receive draft financial statements, and then BDO, our auditors, will come before council on the 22nd to do their presentation and final approval. The next one will be the Clean Energy Improvement Program. So this is where that program for residents to do some energy upgrades to their property, and they can apply for a specific amount of funding, and it gets put onto their tax roll for a period of years. That should come before the end of Q3 for 2024. It is a bit of a process. There will be a bylaw and an application process to go through that. As well as continued policy and bylaw updates. As you can see, we do have some that have been removed as they are completed, as well as most of these will be completed in early first quarter of 2024.
Ask a question just with the SEEP. Is there a response going from the town out to the letter that came in? I know the letter's in correspondence today, but I think everybody got that letter.
It comes before council before we take any action, Mayor Barclay. We have not responded back.
Okay.
Are you good?
Do you want me to move into
Yes,
operations
yes,
service?
sorry, yes, please.
Yeah, so, yeah, top of the list there, Aquatic Center project, so really that's on hold here for foreseeable future until funding is achieved. 2023 capital projects, we did have 2 of the 8 major capital projects have carryover items to be completed in 2024. Southwest Industrial Park, we've completed the underground, surface works substantially complete, a bit of paving to do still, and then shallow utilities has actually started this week, so started on that with a bit of carryover into 2024. Southwest Industrial Solar Projects, we just met last week in regards to an update on that. We are looking to potentially go out to residents with just a notice of stakeholder information to go out in the new year. We'll bring forward that to council first before we do that. That's the last check mark on the AUC application. As we all know, they aren't doing any approvals, but they do reviews still. So we want to get that in January so that it's on the top of the list for review in March.
Director Kennedy, during budget, I was asking about the projected revenue and whether we could maybe get an update. Like, I don't know, obviously, how revenue generation works from solar projects, and you know, certainly there's lots of, I guess, evidence that we'll see electricity prices go down in the next few months, and does that impact the project, and are you able to get that information for us at some point? Don't need it today, of course,
Right.
but
Yeah, I'll be able to come back, probably in the new year here.
Okay.
We'll get an update from them in regards to how that fluctuates and provide council an update.
yeah, for sure, thank you.
And then asset management, ongoing tag item. We'll continue to develop asset management plans for our individual items and continue to update our 5 and 10-year capital plans. 2024 capital projects, once they're approved, we'll be looking to get those designed. I know for tender or early in the new year, likely ready for tender in January, February, and hopefully get on quick on the item list for construction.
Okay, thanks, Director. And just with the pool, there is a directive to explore, provide information back to council regarding fundraiser sponsorship or fundraiser support. So that work has been initiated, and we'll report back likely in January sometime. Just to cover community services, again, knowing that council's one of your highest priorities is affordable and accessible housing. So council has a little bit of dialogue regarding an action plan. So we have not presented I believe, a public-facing action plan. That'll come to you in the first part of 2024. Marketing of the Southwest industrial lands obviously is high importance. There's some risk, as we talked about budget, about selling lands to offset what we're carrying with debt. Climate sustainability, again, moving towards developing targets with real information, and it'll set up council to put in place where do you want to achieve for targets, and it kind of applies investment into our different services, programs, facilities associated with climate change. Foster a healthy economic development ecosystem. Continue on with the CED strategies is what is meant with that priority. And of course, the 2024 capital projects is similar to the Director of Operations, design tender, and then move towards the projects. So that's for your consideration, council. Is everything in order from your perspective, something missing, or somewhere you wish to go besides what's presented to you?
Anybody have any feedback? Councillor Bates?
I do, Mayor Barclay.
I just
Sorry.
wanted to bring up, I had an inquiry from one citizen on the Southwest Industrial, and I wish I'd heard it a year ago, but just indicating that they had some interest, but a smaller area than what's available. I'm wondering if administration is hearing anything that way, any inquiries or?
Mayor Barclay to Councillor Bates, a little bit on potential commercial type shop developments, but nothing formal to move into advancing any adjustments to the subdivision plans. I'm not sure if the rest of administration has heard similar to that, but heard a little bit of wording like that too.
Yeah, I think we have had a couple inquiries where, yeah, depending on how we can accommodate, I think Megan's addressed those questions, so that's definitely open, I think, for that.
I guess obviously the easy way is if a potential buyer decides to buy one and create a condo type development, or not development, but operation themselves. Okay, no, I was just curious if others, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Through to Director Kennedy. Yeah, I think all of this looks good. I just had one little comment about the wording behind the Aquatic Center project. And I hope it is not trivial, too trivial to say, but I just wonder if we could change the wording from the validation report was completed in 2023 and project is on hold for 3 years or until funding is achieved, to, and project has moved into a project funding strategy phase, because it sounds like it's kind of a little bit stopped or not moving anywhere. With that, is that okay to say? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, good, thank you. Councillor Heistad.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Councillor Messaros. I think you did nail it with the Aquatic Center. If we could go back to Varma and the quarters, and as well as the government strategy piece, because I think it was they're both third quarter for both of them, right? Or was it government strategy was the second quarter? Okay. With the Varma, do you think that's leaving it too late, CO Becker, to having that as a third quarter target? Just seeing all the work that's going into Varma, is it, because it just seems how I'm looking at the government strategy as well as Varma should be more aligned. That's how I was seeing the projects going on.
Member Barclay to Councillor Heistad, what I attempted to indicate, Council, it's in the hands of Varma. We've offered as much as we can to Varma at this point, so there's nothing right now we can do to expedite the project. It's really up to Varma, their capacity, and their ability to attract volume of waste. So yeah, I'm not, it's really in their hands to develop the project.
Yep. To CO Becker, I guess my last question on Varma is, are they aware of where we're at with the goals that we're putting forward today? Like, is that being communicated to Sean and his team where we're at, so we're aligned?
Berkeley, Councillor Heistad definitely had a check-in recently with Varma. Again, where can we help to advance the project? We have a really good relationship with Varma, and they're quite aware that the project is the council's highest priority.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Yes, thank you to Councillor Messaros. I agree with her request around the wording relative to the Aquatic Center. I just wanted to thank you for the work that you've done from that research perspective, adding in the 2 government relations strategy examples into the document. I think that's really helpful. I look forward to seeing something coming back in the new year, because certainly, I don't know, you can put a list, 10 points together pretty quickly about the things that we would include, either our, surrounding areas or provincial or even federal government activity. So thank you for the work on that, and look forward to seeing what comes next.
Mayor Barclay, to Councillor Wing's comments. So appreciate the response on the documents. Is that something council would be interested in seeing, something similar to what's been laid out? Probably a combination of both, where we're defining advocacy, and then going into defining what your priorities are for advocacy work.
That's, yeah, I think that would be a great format, and I'm aligned with even with our strategic plan and all of the activities we've outlined that we've just been talking about. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
So some minor adjustments, council. Again, these are fluid, so if something else pops up or you want some adjustments, this is really your priorities. Again, we're mixing in the administrative priorities just so you see where our efforts are, but your priorities are either assigned to the CAO or assigned to one of the senior directors to advance. If council is comfortable, I would ask for you to approve the December 18th strategic priorities as presented or amended. And again, just for the record, to direct administration to present council with advocacy priority recommendations at a future agendas and priorities meeting with a target date of being February 19th, 2024.
All right, thank you. Could I please have someone make the first motion? Councillor Messaros?
Thank you. That council approves the strategic priorities as amended as of December 18th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? And have somebody make the second motion, please.
Mayor Barclay?
Yeah.
I would move that council direct administration to present council with advocacy priority recommendations at a future A&P meeting, target date of February 19th, 2024.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, we'll move into 3.2 with Director Kennedy on tree planting.
Yeah, so Mayor Barclay, so we have in front of you just a document that the Operations Department's been working on to create a 5-10-year tree planting plan. So within the plan, this initiative involves replacement of trees that have naturally reached the end of their life cycle, coupled with an expansion of the tree network across key areas throughout town. In total, the plan designates 18 specific sites and including approximately 238 different, total of 338 trees and shrub plantings within the areas. The selection of the tree species have been carefully curated to work with the climate and soils inherited in Innisfail and ensuring long-term vitality of the new planted trees. This forward-thinking plan poses to serve as a guideline framework for tree planting for the next 5 to 10 years and contingent of available funding. By adhering to this roadmap, the town of Innisfail aims to foster a more sustainable and vibrant environment for its residents, reinforcing its commitment to green infrastructure and community well-being. We did include a map to just highlight the areas that we have spread out throughout town. One of the things that we do use this for is for grant applications. So we have currently working on a significant plant or tree planting initiative grant for, I think it's an area O, to partner up with a couple of businesses as well as community partnerships and schools. So we're hopeful that that one will come forward with a grant this year in order to even prolong or expand it even higher. So, but in 2024, we have included 4 areas that we are anticipating completed that we went and requested quotes for, and they've come within the budgets that we had set. So we're well on to achieving a significant amount of work even in 2024 on this plan. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the tree planting? Councillor Heistad?
I know Don does, for sure.
Thank you, through
Right.
to Director Kennedy. I'd just like to say, I know this plan's been worked on for the last couple of years, and I'd like to congratulate you and commend you on putting it together. It's nice to see it. It's one of the things that when I got on council, I asked for a tree management plan because all of our aspen were falling down around our heads. So thank you very much. It looks like a very solid plan, and it's a real go for us. So thank you for you and your group and administration for putting that together. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Heistad.
Yeah, thanks. I want to thank Director Kennedy, actually, and Councillor Harrison for bringing this up a couple years ago. I think this was a really a great plan to read. Is there an opportunity for some of those businesses or individuals, like, you know, how some people in town will buy a bench? You know, maybe there'd be an opportunity for people to contribute with tree planting or different groups. Like, I think it was stated, having some of the other groups in there helping out. Is that an opportunity, or?
I think the opportunity is there as long as they reach out.
Yeah.
That's how we've gone into a partnership with John Manville last year, is they reached out to us wanting to partner with some type of program. So I think it's available to, lots of opportunities there for local. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bates.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate what I'm seeing here and what's been done. My question is more related to some of the larger areas that we have of more natural, and I'm just wondering what we think we're going to do down the road, where the aspen poplars are almost past their maturity and there's deadfalls, black knot, etc. One that comes to mind is that you can see now with, you know, this time of the season would be across Lakewood from the campground. If you look in there, you see a lot of deadfall. There's been some work done in there because some of it looks piled, but it's not a great visual, and I'm sure it's probably a potential fire. And I'm wondering if we could pick a small area and see what we could do with some of that, or is it on our radar? We got too many priorities for me to suggest that this needs to be a priority, but it's just another observation of trees that I see that we need to get them on our radar, I think, at some point.
Yeah, to Councillor Bates. So yeah, we are, that's more of on our regular maintenance. He's looking at black knots, a continual every year. Braden's always looking out for that and trying to eliminate black knot throughout town. And then in regards to the deadfall and kind of that smart fire, we are looking at that during, again, maintenance time. We've started up in Upper Aspen, looking at in the south side of there, started on that program where we're going in and taking some deadfall. I know it's on Brad's radar to look at that trail along Lakewood Drive and trying to get some of that growth that's been encroaching onto the trail, getting that pushed back as well. So that wasn't included in here because that's more of a regular maintenance that definitely has been tagged for us to continue on looking at.
Well, it might be of use to maybe give us a map down the road of, you know, here's the ones that we think we've kind of sort of done. And because it's just like mowing grass. It's never going to end. Thank you.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, and through to Director Kennedy. Is this a document then that we will be sharing with the community, putting it on the website, is there like a communication strategy so that the community is aware of all of this? I think there's some really good information in here for even local landscapers as far as what are potential trees that would grow well in this environment. So just wonder about this being accessible for folks.
Yep, it's definitely now an approved document that we have built through the town, so we definitely will have it posted on our website.
Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to Director Kennedy. I would expect that after the fire season that the province has had this past year, that there's going to be recommendations on fire smarting a lot of the areas, because there was communities that were evacuated, a number of them. So I would expect over the winter that there's going to be a border review or an after-action request, and you'll probably see a lot of recommendations around fire smarting. And I know when we first implemented the program a number of years ago, municipalities could apply for it. There was funding available through a grant process, So it would be my suggestion that we just keep our sort of ears to the ground. And if there are provincial monies, which I'm certain there will be, that we can do a lot of this fire smarting work that Councillor Bates refers to at that time through that grant process. So just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, I'll have somebody please make the recommended motion. We accept this report as information. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'd accept this or move that we accept this report for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, and then we'll move to 3.3. Councillor Heistad.
I guess 3.3 would be the one item that I had put on. It'd be recreation and pool tours, and the reason why I brought this up as an item, I know that this is a priority of ours. I know that we talked about it on some of our plans here about funding for a pool and that, but I think there's an opportunity for us in this upcoming year as council is to do some tours of different facilities and recreation facilities. Such as pools in Central Alberta or within the province that may be suitable for us, and it gives us an idea of what kind of options may be out there, as well as recreation facilities. So, and I know that this is something that I've asked, like checking out some of the domes or some of the options out there recreation wise, and I think this would be an opportunity for us as councils to work on. But I wanted to have it on the agenda, didn't know how to present it, if it was a A&P meeting, roundtable, but I thought it was important enough to put it forward as it's a plan of ours through our budgeting process. So that's my question to all of you.
Sorry, what's the question exactly? Sorry.
I think we should be out there checking out different facilities, pools, recreation facilities that I know that this is a priority of ours in the budget year. So this is ongoing work that we would be doing.
Councillor Bates.
So, yeah, kind of goes back to my frustrations over the years, but when we committed to the IDP, that more or less commits to, I think, a certain design of pool. Now, you've kind of phrased this as many other recreation facilities, so maybe that should be looked at, but I guess the struggle I have is if we go see something that we really want to, I need some help, I guess, from administration. If we want to make a change to the pool as it's been structured, that would interfere with the IDP, would it not? Or adders and start chewing up whatever contingencies are in there? Or?
Barclay, Councillor Bates, not necessarily. Depends on what you're seeking in your tours. If you're looking just to visually see a facility, get an idea of what's potential is, or if you're looking to look at modifying, that's going to create likely some challenge. But if you're going there to get a real visual sense of what a new pool is, there's value with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. When I think back to, I think it was April or May of 2022, when was probably it seems like it's been a really long time ago since we actually met with Group 2, but it was through that IDB process that it was actually raised that we should probably go and spend some time in some of the other communities. I'm not as concerned right now as about necessarily seeing, what does a swimming pool look like in Drayton Valley. But I am curious about talking to other councils in other communities and seeing evidence of how they've engaged their community. So seeing how they're recognizing sponsors, seeing how the community has received the work, received the facility, what kinds of programming goes on inside those facilities. I think this is, when we talk about investing as much money into an aquatic center or a recreation or a multiplex facility as we are, it's bigger than just the design of a pool or the size of a pump or anything at all like that. I think we're at a point right now where we need to have a higher level of conversation about how we're going to actually make this happen. So I would second Councillor Heistad's request for a tour of facilities.
I believe that it's been introduced before, and it'd be wise for council to give formal direction. Just it's captured in your action control. It's not lost or forgotten about. If it's something you really want to do, I'd say make a motion to that regard, and we'll come back to you with some plans in doing that.
Thanks, CEO Becker. I'll motion that council look at working with the administration to do upcoming tours of recreation facilities and pool facilities within this region or within the province. How's that as a motion?
Sure.
Councillor Bates?
Yeah, if we're going to do that, one pool that I'd heard about from a resident that they thought was worthy of look was Canmore, and I hadn't heard that one yet.
So CEO Becker, how are we going to flush this out, like as far as where we're going? And I mean, we hear Canmore, we know Drayton Valley. I think the pool that was designed for here is very much like Drayton Valley. Like, you know, there's a cost of us going around the province and looking at this. And
I think just through the motion, if it passes, which I'm assuming it will,
Yeah.
We'll take it back. I know through the director team have an understanding what's out there in the market with newer, more modern facilities. We'll come back to you with a list and start plugging away. Maybe we get through a few, you said, well, let's go here. So it's, we'll start with the short list. You can add and delete as you feel appropriate.
okay. Okay, we have a motion. Sorry, Councillor Messaros?
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering, would it be helpful to narrow down the reasons for going out? So Councillor Heistad mentioned a couple of reasons. Councillor Wing mentioned a couple of reasons. They seem like kind of different. In my opinion, it would be helpful to narrow down the reasons for going, and then we know which pools to choose and what we're going specifically to look at, or what rec centers, why we're going and what we're going to look at. So I'm wondering maybe we could just have a bit of a discussion about that.
Okay.
Sure. I believe with the IDP process we were dealing with was we had the IDP group working on that, potential plans, where we are going with budget, design, all those things. My understanding with the IDP process is we were going to be involved somewhat doing these tours or looking at facilities. And so that's how I see this process. And as Councillor Wing expressed it, and she does this much better than I do at times, I'd say more often than myself. She's a little more eloquent as to process, identifying pieces through the community and asking other councils how they engage their community. Maybe there was some government relations that did go on that we are not aware of within that process. That's how I'm looking at this. And I don't see it as taking a lot of time for us. It may be one day where we target a day that we can get out there. And we got this great hybrid Toyota vehicle. So it's really, it's not going to, the cost to us is going to be minimized by gas price or gas consumption. How's that? Those are my comments for now.
So CEO Becker, would you bring back, like when you come back with this, kind of a strategy? Because I kind of agree it's quite broad, and how deep does council get into kind of the operations? I mean, assuming that you're keeping on top of government funding, if there is any, we kind of started down that path, and that was kind of, okay, let's look for funding, and now we're, like, I'm wondering, are we going out to change the design, or are we going to see the design we have is great, let's keep going? Are we going to say, well, yeah, we want an aquatic center, but I also want something else, and we can't even know where we're getting the money for the aquatic center, so how big does this get? So I'd like the focus to be quite specific, and, you know, like I said, if we're going to Canmore one day and we're going to Drayton another day, and I mean, we could go a long time looking at facilities, and it would be great to go, but where are we going? And
Barclay, to your question, I think it's advantageous to get into facilities and get the right people from those respective host communities in front of you. I think it's advantageous to even challenge the current design, not to say ultimately you're going to build out your team again, which is a cost. However, when you see ideas, you can apply what's being done in other areas, and you can visualize it, would that work here? So because we're saying it's a 3-year window, it doesn't hurt to challenge current design to get the best design for Innisfil, although there's a cost. Does that make sense? In my experience with getting into communities and in these types of tours, you get to understand what are those operational challenges, whether it's how it's built and challenges to the guards, or it's just it's a good experience. It is timely. There is a cost to touring, but ultimately it helps council, from my perspective, to justify when that project is ready to go, that you have a little bit more knowledge what's coming into Innisfil. So I
because
think it's
this design
beneficial.
was based on Drayton, right? Basically, the design that we got was kind of based on the Drayton, maybe pared back a little bit just because costs had gone up so much.
I'm not sure so much Drayton, but that was part of the discussion. It was built on, I'll let you speak,
Yeah,
Director, to how that was
because you went to
built.
Drayton
That was-
Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was used as a guide, but really it came down to square footage, budget. What can we fit in within the square footage of the facility because of the location? Because we went through extensively, we looked at 4 different locations, presented all the options for that. We all agreed that this is the best location. Okay, well, within this footprint, what can we achieve? And then, you know, within that, what are the unique, that was one of the things that council came back with, is, well, we want it unique within the area. Okay, well, what was that? That was Ninja Cross. It was, you know, but it did limit us to, yeah, we can't get an indoor track anymore. We can't make it multi-purposed, like I think the original vision was, but in order for that to happen, it was square footage. Well, square footage means cost. So it came down to what's the best design within the square footage that we have. And with a pool, it's pretty limited. So definitely though, if we want to go to some other pools and see how their operations were and how they achieved budgets. The other thing I heard was, yeah, community engagement, what was done there. So likely I see this being tours with the other administrations, maybe the other councils that was team members, to hear, you know, how they were able to achieve those type of targets. So that's kind of the things that I took from what was wanting from the
Yeah,
tour.
okay.
And that wasn't missed. It was definitely, I think, hit in the validation report that once this project is to that point, because it's preliminary, it's not, this is the pool we're building. This is the concept that we're going towards within the budget that we had. Now let's, like, okay, let's go. Let's get to these pools and let's see what we can do, if we need to tweak it here, tweak it there, to meet council's vision. Really, we tried to just hit the vision as best we could.
And even that budget was over our budget,
Yeah.
right? I think when we started the process, we didn't have a budget, and we had a lot of wants. Then we put the budget in this term, and it's like, oof, yeah, things change. So, yeah, and even that was 8 million over budget, so, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion. Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, no,
Want
I
to
think,
add? Oh, sorry,
Councillor
Councillor Dunham. I didn't
Dunham.
see your hand up. Hello.
No, no worries. Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Through to admin and my fellow council members, I have full faith that our senior leadership, Tim and CEO Becker, are pursuing every avenue for grants and funding. For me, my understanding is that we, over the past few years, have reached out to the community several times to get their feedback on what their desires were as a community, and that this current concept was based upon several factors. Those wishes, our wishes, and previous council's wishes, previous designs, square footage, location, etc. So I guess for me, I would love to go and see some other facilities and understand how they brought them to fruition. However, I really have some concerns of us going out and once again sort of changing our direction. I mean, we're 2 years since just over 2 years since we've been elected to council, and we are where we are. And I realize that we're now trying to find funding to bring this to light. But I guess I also need some clarification as to why we're going. I realize that and as Director Kennedy said, that this is a concept, and I know that we've talked about certain things, but I just wonder to what ends we're going out, if it's more than just us feeling comfortable with where the design is, because I think we all know that prices are still continuing to escalate, and any changes are going to come at a cost. So I guess that's where I'm sitting. Like I said, I would very much like to be involved in going out and seeing some of these facilities, but just to what end are we going?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Messaros?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'm wondering if, let's say we go out and we change our mind and we want to do a design change of some kind. Does that have an impact on how quickly we're able to find and secure funding? Like, do we have to be settled on something before we can get funding? Does that impact our road down the funding path?
Mayor Barclay to Councillor Messaros. So as per the director, what he stated was it's a schematics to design. We don't have enough funding to move into final design. So right now we need money. So right now it's still visionary in a certain aspect. So to go on a tour is more of a familiarization of what's out there, not coming back to dissect your IPD, because then if you're changing design, you are then ramping up IPD team, which is, we don't have a budget to do that. Right now, for what I see is to familiarize yourself with what pools exist to help you create the visual awareness. If you want to start the IPD process, that's a resolution and a budget. But right now, without a level of funding that, to change, why would you move into design changes without any level of funding in the pocket to build a pool?
Yeah, this is kind of what I'm wondering. It's kind of what I'm wondering.
I'm not hearing, I guess, that you want to change design. I'm hearing you want to go visit pools and rec facilities. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a still appropriate action of council.
Okay, Councillor Heistad?
yeah, and once again, when I brought this forward, it's not only the pool, but there's other rec facilities involved, right? So I know when budget was going on, there was some discussion on, like the dome piece. I know it was brought up. And I know that we have a dome in Red Deer, and, looking at other opportunities, seeing that we're not going to have the track itself within the pool, but what other options may be there in the future for Innisfallians. And this is how I look at it, is this is part of our, looking at what the options may be in the future. And I kind of look at this as professional development in my mind as a councillor, is this is the getting a better understanding of what options may be out there. And I think some of that, taking a day or two is probably some of the best PD type work that we should be doing, rather than being at a conference, in my own personal opinion. But that's where I'm that's how I see it, this process, or an opportunity.
Okay, so there's a motion, all in favor of going on the Aquatic Center tour? Okay, carried. And go on to 3.4.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. What 3.4 would be is seeing when we pass budget, what I'd like to see is, and I think this has come up over and over again at times at council, is that once budget has been passed, is that we do an address to the community. So we make time, make an effort, maybe book the library, and to explain the budget itself in its entirety, and making it, you know, like Director Vickers has done a great job with us explaining it, but just simplifying it for the community as to what our goals are for this upcoming year. And I think it really helps us and promotes what we're doing with the tax increase and our goals. I think this has come up a number of times, and I felt that I wanted to put this in action rather than just being talking about this opportunity as a council. So that's why I wanted to put this on at 3.4.
So would you like to make a motion then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Yeah, I know that. I'm looking at CEO Becker, seeing if he has any rebuttal on it. But my motion would be as following the budget deliberation, we plan a date to educate the Innisfail citizens on our 2024 budget at one of our facilities in the community.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, we have been booked into the senior center on January 24th. We needed to send the invite out yet, but I will get on that, and might have to change that date, but after what we look at in correspondence today, but they have reached out for participate in their health and wellness day, and that would be a budget presentation so that would be one item out of, but we could maybe do something at the library, maybe in late February, March, once maybe, I don't know, no more round assessments and stuff. When does that come out, Director Vickers?
Mayor Barclay will receive our final assessment numbers at the end of February,
Okay.
and then need some time in early March to go through them.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion.
If that meets council's timelines, so it would have a budget overview plus the year ends. Well, I guess no tax implication, so we could tie in a few things with that engagement.
Yep. Springtime or something.
Yeah, March-ish.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. We'll move into 4.1, correspondence. So, CEO Becker, the first one, you said you wanted a motion, so we'll make a motion that you please respond to Mr. Hand with respect to the SEAP program. Answer his questions. Any discussion about that? All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll just scroll down a little bit, Juanita, please. Do you guys need to talk?
Oh,
Well, just to update him on the SEAP program. So we talked about that in our strategic
Yeah.
priorities. So
Yeah.
administration could get back to him to let him know that it's already in
Yeah.
the works and that there'll be a bylaw coming.
Your Worship, the only reason why I pointed over to Councillor Wing is it looked like she was raising her hand. So,
Oh, is it not working?
yeah, that's why I was looking over.
Okay. Okay. This one as well, I'm going to make a motion that we do not share our information with the provincial government that they're asking for through this request. Is that,
yeah,
do you need a little bit more than that, or?
no, just to kind of highlight what this correspondent is. So the government's asking municipalities to, for information on what agreements municipalities have with the federal government. They want to understand the municipal federal agreements that are in place. So as per the email from the minister, it states the need for unity to ensure funding envelopes from the federal government are shared equally. So I raised this concern with Mayor Barclay when I saw the correspondence. That's not really clear why the government's asking for what agreements we have with the federal government besides perhaps part of the Sovereignty Act components where yeah, there's just something not quite understood about what the government is requiring to understand between municipalities and the federal government. I know the last 5-6 years through the AM has been to strengthen relationship with the federal government for funding opportunities. So this one makes me a little bit nervous. And from administrative perspective, I think that the motion to not provide the information is appropriate. If you want more dialogue, more understanding, it's there, but just not certain of why the government's asking for this level of information.
Okay, so we have a motion not to provide. Councillor Heistad, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I see why there's the awkward moment with the government, and you know, our role is to be on the governing side of things, is to be not so adversarial at times, right? And this is, you know, kind of puts us in an awkward moment. And I know personally, I brought it up a couple weeks ago about CPP, but this has nothing to do with that. But I think it all has it stems to the relationship, right? And I don't know if this is if there's something we go back to our MLA and ask, you know, go back to him as our advocate for the community in this area is why are you asking specifically for this? We can make the assumption, but I think in our good governance is we should be asking the question too to our MLA. So those are my comments. But as to awkward moment, this is, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with where the conversation that you would have had with our mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Bates?
Yeah, my thoughts are I wouldn't oppose the motion. Is it something we should also be asking Alberta municipalities for some well, even information, what they're hearing from other communities and that sort of thing? And then one thing I noticed in the last bulletin that came out last Friday from AM, there was a strange funding in there from the Alberta government to the town of Strathmore related to policing, and it basically said due to financial stress or constraints that they were getting $400,000 and some. Well, who isn't? Who isn't under financial stresses and wouldn't like more? So that's two separate things that I've just thrown out here as thoughts, but I would support the motion for the limited information that we've been given.
Yeah, I think we'll just, I think CEO Becker, you know, we have a motion that we're not going to provide it, and you just leave it. And, you know, if they come back to us at some point, wanting to know where the information is, we can go further. But for now, we'll just let it sit. And
well, I guess my
ignore
first
it.
point was, though, should we not ask AM?
Well, we can ask AM. I mean, with respect to the motion and saying no,
After the fact, we're not going
Yeah.
to do it for now, but
yeah, we can do that.
then let's look for more information.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Okay, carried. Next. So was there was no increase, Director Vickers, with the Parkland Foundation requisition? Councillor Harrison, I'll ask you, yeah.
There will
Sorry,
be an
forgot that you-
increase, and I think I covered it at the last meeting. It's regarding the COLA and the budget for the business plan. So there will be a slight increase, Mayor Barclay?
To the requisition.
So, to the requisition, yeah.
Yes,
Was
Mayor
that-
Barclay, this is similar to our school requisition where we deal with this at the mill rate time in April, and then will dictate it then.
Okay. Another small budget increase. Okay. All right, I'll just have somebody make a motion that we accept the correspondence as information, please. Councillor Wing.
I will, my mic works. So I would make the motion that
Your
we
hand must
accept
have warmed up.
correspondence for
Oh.
information.
All in favor? And we'll do roundtable. Councillor Heistad.
Yep. Just one of the highlights last week, I was at the, did the emergency management meeting as well as following police committee meeting. Some of the BASA came in and presented on our community and actually did some work with seniors, young people, did a really good job going around the community, talking about policing and if they feel safe in our community. And BASA had presented that majority of people that they had talked to feel that Innisfail is a very safe community, and they feel safe in not only seniors but young people, so which is a good indication. I think when that information comes to you as a council, it'll be a good read. But we had a really good meeting. It was a couple hours. Talked about the Battle of the Badges, which is going to be January 5th with the fire department and the RCMP. And we look to having the committee's going to have a table there and engaging all people about how important it is to be involved in policing and calling in the issues. So those are my highlights right from the meeting. I don't know if CO Becker, do you have anything to add there? I just freewheeling right now. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I attended the chamber meeting this week, and the chamber is going to go ahead and hire, put a job ad out for a part-time executive director at the chamber. And then in regards to the trade fair this spring, I think someone is going to be in touch with admin about working with the Innisfail Energy Hub again to do something at the trade fair. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to council. I had one committee meeting this past week, and that was the Emergency Management Committee meeting, which I felt was very, very informative and going forth. So that was my week, and I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas before I forget in the community. So everybody have a safe, prosperous season, and we'll catch up to you after the new year.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And Councillor Wing.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. Last Wednesday, I attended the Mountain View Regional Water Service Commission meeting as council's alternate. I was there with Councillor Bates. We had a good meeting. We had a tour of the water treatment center, which was very interesting. This absolutely is a significant organization with many opportunities and challenges, I think, ahead of it. So we can talk about this later, but I am hopeful that council will see value in my attending every meeting moving forward. Part of that, it would be succession planning, but also, it's something that I think we need to just be more involved with. Last Wednesday evening, I attended the Johns Manville Christmas Turkey Dinner. Send my congratulations and thanks out to organizers and staff who participated at the event. It's definitely evolved into an Innisfail community Christmas party, and it's lots of fun to see everybody out there. Thursday, I attended the Parkland Regional Library Executive Committee meeting in the morning, and then in the evening, the Innisfail Emergency Advisory Committee. That meeting was a lot of orientation as to the role and work of the committee, and we do have a plan set for our next meeting in the new year. Attended the Tagish Christmas lunch on Friday, and thanks to them for organizing that. And also, yes, this is my last report for 2023 along with everyone else, so Merry Christmas to all of you and to the community. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bates.
Okay, so last meeting I mentioned late in the meeting that I had gone to the Central Alberta Waste Commission meeting, but I didn't report on anything. There isn't a lot other than the chair is Lonnie Komet, Dana DePalm is the vice. They're continuing to monitor the leachate in that landfill out by Pine Lake. The leachate volume is down due to the dryness. which I don't know that that's really pertinent to the commission, other than it's just an observation. And they didn't get the amount of grazing revenue that they used to get. Ironically, they found a lease that would be bigger, but then the lessor didn't follow through, so they ended up going back to their previous lease for part of the summer and made less. But the actual requisition will be slightly lower for 2024, just as peaks and valleys go with their operation, which isn't very big. But they'll continue to monitor and continue to have financial audits, etc. The Mountain View Water, which, yes, Councillor Wing attended as well. There's still pending information regarding the Olds Boil Water Advisory, and it's almost like a replay of what I said from the last meeting. They're going to have another meeting with Olds and still try to determine everything that happened. I don't think they completely determined everything that happened in their first meeting, and once they've had that meeting, then there'll be an ops meeting with our people and other communities to say, here's what we think finally happened, and here's best practices of how to try and avoid that. Other things in that discussion, one that I think it's important to point out is even the Department of the Environment, we had a different location agency that looked at it when that event happened, and they were totally unaware of the process. One thing that is unique about that process, it's a batch process, it's not continuous. So when you get the concept that you've had a power failure, some people might think, oh, it's down. Well, yeah, it's down, but you make another batch of water and then you ship it. So that created a lot of confusion, I think, that, and then when some of the things hit the media, it became quite confusing. So they'll get to the bottom of it and we'll hear more. The other thing that came up was a discussion of we had a little power blip up there again when the truck hit the line in Innisfail. And so I know they will be engaging Fortis down the road to try and get a specific understanding of how all that ties together. And I know a neighbor in my neighborhood, it looks like their TELUS system got fried when that one happened. So I'm suspecting there's surges that went down the lines in different ways, and we'll all learn more about that. Also last week, they had a planned change of partial their filtering system, and simultaneously the weekend before the one we just come out of, they had a big blip in bulk water sales down the line in a couple of the other towns, and so they had to ask for the bulk water sales to be held back a bit, and they've gotten past that, and yeah. It's also interesting to note, if you look at the news these days, there's discussions from the province of looking at restricting water to certain downhole oil operations if the rivers get into critical stages. I went to the JM community dinner as well, and that was, yeah, it was just a whole lot of fun. At the Police and Safe Communities, the CAO gave the orientation, as he has been to all committees. The chair is Arnold Glover, the vice is Jonathan Poppies, I believe you say his name, from the Bowden Institution. Boss's preliminary report. I got the feeling personally when I listened to that like their engagement was direct. It wasn't asking people to fill out surveys. And I got the impression that in that direct engagement, they had a little more concern than we get in our surveys that are just done by a computer and written. A little more concern about safety because the people are right there, so then even if they aren't overly concerned, they come up with what is concerning them. So I got a little more concern reflected there. BAS's next step, of course, is to work with the commission to help design the next written survey, which all that work will be done in January. There was also mention of mental issues and housing are a burden on law enforcement. Identification of some of the hot spots in town that most of us, I think, are all aware of. Manager Leith mentioned, which we all know, that they have an increase in emergency call-outs, both medical and alarm, and they do have quite a stress with animal control. And I think a lot of that is probably related back to what we hear Canada-wide with people bringing in a lot of animals during COVID. Now they're not so sure they can take care of them all. Town hall was proposed, and I saw written today that January 22nd is the next town hall in Innisfail. And I attended the Tagish lunch, and I'm unsure this week about whether or not I'll be attending the food hampers with Connect the Dots. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunham?
Well, thank you, Mayor Barclay. Continuing to be out of town until this Wednesday. I do look forward to returning and catching up with everyone in person, and we'll be attending a few of the upcoming events as availability. Look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday.
Okay, safe
Or
travels.
thereabouts.
Safe travels
Thank you.
home. Sorry. Start again. So I represented Cape with the Red Deer familiarization tour, and this position as well. Jennifer Hardig brought Director William Wang, who's a director for the Alberta government of the China offices, to Central Alberta. And we had some industry people here, Enhance, and then a couple of local industry players, but we'll get into it more in the new year. Attended the Johns Manville Christmas dinner, EMS Advisory Committee meeting, the Tagish Christmas lunch, the John Wilson Christmas reading to grade 2s this year. Also, I've sent out about, I think, 23 Christmas cards to neighboring municipalities on behalf of council, as well as government officials, MLA, MP, Premier, and some other community stakeholders. And timesheets, if we could have those by Thursday at the end of the day. And we'll just be using the old remuneration policy, and we'll adopt the new one in January. I think Councillor Vickers is making up a new timesheet for us. Also going to After Friday, we'll be taking some time away, so Deputy Mayor Messaros will be looking after things, so thank you very much. And that's all we have. So upcoming events. We'll just have a motion to accept upcoming events. Councillor Bates?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? And then we'll have an adjournment at 4:18.